section.
Got a Republican Congress. It's answered.
Well,
Okay.
you gotta talk them into it, Jim.
All right.
You gotta talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section,
Like I
which
did with
is
criminal
climate change.
justice reform. I
Okay.
had to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen,
You did what we
we're running
already
out of
done.
time, so we got to get on to climate change, please. You both have very different visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental regulations have hurt jobs in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, how would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time?
Support
Starting with
climate
President Trump,
change?
you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What kind of question? What kind of question is that, Walker? Trump, you have said climate change is a hoax, basically, which I do. And then she says, Biden, you say this about climate change. What do you guys say about the goodness of, or about the truth of science? It's like, of climate change. It's like, you just agreed with Biden, and you're supposed to be a moderator.
And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 30
See, he's agreeing with it. I don't even agree with it. There's no such thing. Well, there is a small type of man-made climate change. Ultimately, it's like like Bob Ducko said, it's a bucket of water. That a bucket of water represents man-made climate change, and you're throwing it into a raging river. That's climate change, man-made climate change. Other than that, it's cyclical. It goes up and down. We have it frozen in ice cores. The world heats up and cools down. My God, man.
China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
And we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change, climate warming, global warming is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world, we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all
On
the
what?
regulations
On what?
to clean up
Al
climate,
Gore
to
models?
clean up, to limit
Mount Kilimanjaro? Saying we have a model that says Mount Kilimanjaro won't have any snow on it in a couple of years, right? Well, some years that he said came and passed, still tons of snow on Mount Kilimanjaro. And that's the superior SAT Al Gore saying that in his documentary. As far as your models, Biden, and your science, they're all vying for the next government grant. And the only way to win a huge grant from the government is to make headlines. So they mess and artificially inseminate these models to get catastrophic results so they can win headlines and grants. It's pseudoscience.
In the process, in creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs. And it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs.
How many jobs will it destroy? You're saying you're going to end capitalism, right? Put tariffs, I guess, or heavy taxes on coal, on people that buy electricity, like carbon credits. You're going to destroy industry, and you're trying to tout it off as creating jobs?
What he wants to do. If you look at his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC plus 3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC plus 3. Look, their real plan cost $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no windows, this is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it could be good politically. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things.
Okay.
And many other
Wow.
things.
We have the Vice President
It
respond,
is
and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more
We'll
questions to
destroy
get
our
to.
country.
So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more
I
questions.
don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Wait.
$100 trillion. Give me a break.
That was a projected
This plan was-
model.
This is planned and endorsed by every.
Don't you believe in
major-
science
every
and
major
economics?
environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is the electric, solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs. And
It's
they pay
unreliable.
prevailing wages.
Biden, what happens when the wind don't blow? What happens when the sun don't shine? Why are we experiencing rolling blackouts in California?
Excuse me.
Please respond, and then I have.
And it doesn't take MacGyver to put it together.
We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds, it's very intermittent, got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a
Solar.
scientist that said that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world.
It's true.
So
False.
it's all a pipe
It's true.
dream. But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. And what about fracking?
All right,
Now-
let me,
now we
let me
have to
have,
ask
let me.
for-
Now, Christian Walker, you got to ask him about the job loss, the projected job loss at ending oil.
Put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact
If you're a
of the
good
matter is
moderator,
lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do roll out.
I need a
the fact
cheese
because
ball.
the
Hey,
answer-
calm me.
We need other industries to transition.
I got the munchies.
It's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this time, then we need, we have.
He was against fracking, he said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania, he'll be against it very soon.
A
because
true
it's
flip-flop
fracking.
then.
He's totally against it.
Fracking
You
on
just do it
federal land,
for
he said no
political
fracking.
gaining,
He said
political
oil on
points.
federal
Let
land.
me ask
Just
you
trying
the
to
final
weasel your
question
way
in this
through the
segment,
maze to
and then
get
I will
power.
move on to our final segment.
Not because you intellectually know it's the best thing.
More likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they're making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, or Black, or Asian, it's 9 times greater the percentage gain than it was under, in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back way back. We saved our oil industry, And now it's very vibrant again.
All
And
right.
everybody has very inexpensive gasoline.
Vice
Remember that.
President Biden, your response, and then we're gonna have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that in fact pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And all
There are a lot of
all
factories doing
refineries
that.
in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car
In America.
when there was first frost to drive me to school, turning the windshield over, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions the pollutants coming out of those fence lines.
Yeah, but a lot of it's pseudoscience, but you're
Okay,
right.
I have
You're
one
right.
final
Would he
question.
close
It
down
falls-
the oil
It
industry?
falls,
Or would you close
it
down the
falls-
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I would
that's a big
transition.
statement.
That is a big statement,
That's a-
because I would stop,
why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly. I said, here's the deal, but
That's a
you
big
can't do that.
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy.
So
over
you're
time.
trying to equate burning of oil to cancer? Is that it? The moderator should do this.
Give federal subsidies to the gas, excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give
right.
it to solar and wind.
We have
That's
one
maybe
final
the biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay,
Because
we have one
basically what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that Pennsylvania,
Vice
Oklahoma?
President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
Wow.
He takes everything out of context, but the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right, one
Is he gonna
final
get
question.
China to
both
do
of
it?
you. No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We have
going to
to
get
move on
China
to
to
our
do it?
final question. We
No,
have to
I'm
move
gonna
on to our final
rejoin Paris
question.
Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
All right, this is.
How are you going to do that? A good moderator would ask, how are you going to make China abide because they're the number one polluter on the planet?
What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, etc. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before.
Yeah, I like
we
to
get
say this
calls
about
from people
global
who
war-
were
kids.
not
Talk about
wanting
global
to
warming and what
vote.
sounds
They
good.
wanted to get
All us
that.
taking
We have
away
the best black
all making all these rules, right? For global warming or CO2 emissions, right? To cut them down. But what happens is it destroys businesses in our capitalist society. They just simply move overseas and they pollute 10 times that of what we do doing the same exact thing.
And he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have.
You make 'em too stringent.
Which you've never seen. Your 401.
They'll just go overseas and pollute more, pollute more.
All right, Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm gonna make sure that you're represented. I'm gonna give you hope. We're gonna move. We're gonna choose science over fiction.
Well, we're waiting on the
We're
hope.
gonna choose hope over fear. We're gonna choose.
Okay, that's a
to move
great
forward
direction
with
because you were
enormous
feeding us
opportunity.
darkness,
Enormous
fear, be
opportunity
afraid.
To make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time.
Well,
we can
that,
make
where you're
sure
getting it
that our
wrong is you're
economy
not taking the plank out of your own eyes.
and move
Democrat
forward
Party is
and
racist.
clean energy,
Also,
create
you have to take
millions
that
of new
plank
jobs.
out, and then you
And
call
that's
the other
fact.
party
That's what we're gonna
racist,
do. And I'm
right?
gonna say, as I said in the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country. Decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity.
I did an experiment
Making sure that everyone has an even chance.
many years ago when
I'm gonna make
Sharpton
sure you
started
get
this
that.
racism
I'm
kick
happy to get into
during the
that.
Obama administration, getting everybody
All right, I
racist
wanna
against
thank
each
you
other.
both for a very
Well,
robust hour and a half.
I went to
Fantastic
Jackson,
debate. Really
walked
appreciate it.
purposely down the
President Trump,
slums,
former Vice
oh,
President
well,
Joe Biden, thank you
Ghetto
for
Road
University
in
for
Jackson.
hosting us tonight.
When I
And
walked
most
down it,
importantly,
I started
thank you
getting
to those
screamed at and
watching
yelled
tonight.
at. Why you out here? Why you here, honky?
November 3rd,
Get out.
don't forget-
Leave. stepping out, walking out towards me. Racism is just not a white thing. It's a black thing too.
Debate of 2020, spirited at times,
Well,
a different tone and tenor than
hello,
the first
Melania.
debate, as you
Well,
see the First Lady making
good
her
God,
way
top
up to
shelf
the stage,
Lamborghini
as
wife.
Dr. Jill
You know,
Biden,
Biden's wife is
passed
pretty
there.
too.
Uh,
Yeah.
It was a debate of substance for all of
Oh.
the back and forth about the mute and how that was going to factor in.